Have you ever thought about what it would be like to actually meet someone from, say, 1,000 years ago? And I don't mean just their bones, I mean their body, looking like it's just frozen in time. Well, today we're diving into exactly that, the incredible, almost unbelievable science behind human remains that have somehow managed to defy decay for millennia.
I mean, listen to that. That is not science fiction. That's a real description of a noblewoman's body found after being locked away in a tomb for over 2,000 years. So, how on earth is that possible? That's really the big question we're going to tackle. How did ancient cultures manage to cheat death itself?
All right, so to kick things off, let's get on the same page about what we're actually talking about here. We are looking at human bodies that have somehow resisted the most basic law of nature. Everything decays. Yeah, scientists have a name for this, and it's a little bit spooky, I'll admit. They call them permanent corpses. But, the term kind of fits perfectly, doesn't it? These are human remains that, because of some really unique chemicals or just the right environment, have stayed in an almost lifelike state, long after they should have turned to dust. And if you want a perfect example, look no further than Shinzui, who you might know as Lady Dai. When archaeologists opened her tomb back in 1971, they were just floored. I mean, her skin was still soft, she had a full head of hair, and there was even type A blood still liquid in her veins. The thinking is, she was sealed in this totally airtight tomb with some kind of mysterious acidic fluid. But here's the thing, she's not the only one. And that just leads to that one huge question. How? How is this even possible? Well, the answer, and this might surprise you, it doesn't actually start with human cleverness. It starts with Mother Nature. Turns out, nature was the very first, and maybe even the best, embalmer out there. You see, there are basically 3 perfect natural laboratories for making what we call accidental mummies. First up, ice. Just extreme biting cold. Think of Otzi the Iceman, right? He was frozen solid in the Alps for over 5,000 years, and the ice just stopped all decomposition in its tracks. Second, you've got peat bogs. The water in them is super cold, acidic, and has almost no oxygen, which basically tans the skin and preserves it like leather. And third, you have hot, dry sand. In places like ancient Egypt, the sand would just suck all the moisture out of a body. And without moisture, the bacteria that cause decay, well, they just can't do their job. And right here, this is the real turning point in our story. You have to imagine ancient people just stumbling across these bodies, pulling a perfectly preserved man from a bog, or uncovering a body in the desert that looks like it died yesterday. They would have realized that stopping decay wasn't impossible. They saw what nature could pull off, and you just know they started thinking, wait a minute, could we do that? And there's the big question that really lit a fire under humanity. I mean, what if you believe, truly believe, that your soul needs your body to survive in the afterlife? You can't just cross your fingers and hope for a convenient glacier or a nearby bog. No, you have to take matters into your own hands. So this is where simple observation becomes a full-blown art form. We're talking about a kind of early, brilliant chemical engineering developed by cultures all over the world, all trying to conquer decay. And just look at the incredible creativity here. The Egyptians, of course, they perfected using natron salt to completely dry out the body before sealing it with resins. In Persia, they say Alexander the Great's body was transported in a coffin filled with honey, which is an amazing natural antibacterial. Over in ancient Ur, they were using a wild combination of heat and mercury. And then we're back to Lady Dai and her mysterious fluid. What's so amazing is that even with totally different cultures and materials, they all figured out the same basic rules: get rid of the moisture and kill the bacteria. And this wasn't just some ancient world fad either. This is the mummy of an Italian noblewoman, Maria di Aragona. Her preservation was no accident. It was the result of a very deliberate, very complex, and pretty invasive procedure, which just goes to show you how this art of preservation carried on right into the Renaissance. Okay, so we've seen a lot about the how, but that leaves us with the biggest question of all, doesn't it? Why? Why would anyone go to such incredible lengths to preserve a human body? Well, for the ancient Egyptians, the answer was simple, and it was absolute. Mummification wasn't just a nice tradition, it was a non-negotiable part of their religion. They believed the soul had to be able to recognize and return to its physical body to even exist in the afterlife. So an intact body wasn't just a body, it was the vessel for an eternal soul. Without it, you were facing total oblivion. But it wasn't always about the next life. In medieval Europe, for example, embalming became a tool for the living. It was used to honor saints, which created these powerful relics for people to worship. It also had a really practical use, preserving the bodies of kings or crusaders who died hundreds of miles from home so they could be brought back for a proper royal burial. And get this, sometimes it was even done to help with early anatomical research.
And these procedures, they could be incredibly complex. As you can see in this medieval drawing, it's showing the removal of the brain, which was a common step in a lot of these processes, all the way from ancient Egypt to the Middle Ages. It was this amazing mix of religious ritual and a surprisingly detailed knowledge of anatomy. So, okay, fast forward thousands of years. Why does any of this matter to us today? What can these ancient bodies really tell us that a bunch of bones or broken pottery can't?
Well, to put it simply, they are the closest thing we will ever have to a time machine. Archaeologists call them silent witnesses because they give us this direct, unfiltered, and deeply personal connection to our ancestors. They close that massive gap between our world and a world we can usually only read about in books. And the things we learn from them, it's just incredible. From these permanent corpses, scientists can figure out the last meal a person ever ate. We can see the actual tattoos on their skin, study the fabrics they wore, and even find direct evidence of the diseases they had or, sometimes, how they died. It's like a high-definition photograph of life, culture, and death in the ancient world. When you really think about it, it's pretty amazing to reframe all this not just as some old religious ritual, but as a genuine scientific achievement. Every single mummy represents a tiny victory in a war against time itself. A war fought at the microscopic level with things like salts and resins and acids. These ancient cultures went to incredible lengths to make sure their story would survive, to leave a physical mark that could speak across thousands of years. And it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our age of cloud storage and fleeting digital files, what tangible proof of our lives will we actually leave behind for the archaeologists of the future to find?